To some, teachers are considered heroes, and of course, I think that they play a very important role in our society. But guys, we have to put some things into perspective. Hear me out. Hey people, it's Brian back at you with another video. And the other day I was talking to a mentee and I was a little bit frustrated because she just kept saying throughout a conversation, but my teacher says this, or my professor said that. Well, guess what? Teachers don't know everything, especially when it comes to giving career advice. And it's very frustrating for me because I hear the advice that they're giving to the students. I don't agree with them, and I really want to just explore that today. Now, of course, before I get into it, I just want to say that I do respect teachers. There were a number of teachers in my lifetime that I felt really made a strong impact in my life. These were the teachers that really inspired me, that really encouraged me, that really took me from a place where I was very introverted or lonely place, and they really propelled me, and they really encouraged me, and they really helped me out from an education standpoint and from a social standpoint. It just gave me the confidence that I really needed. But here's the thing. They were very few and far between, and I think unfortunately, they're the exceptions than the rule. Now, I know I will remember these specific teachers for the rest of my life. These guys really enjoyed their jobs, and they cared about their students, regardless of whether the students were easy to teach or not, or whether they were smart or not. And I really wish there were more of them out there. Back to the topic, I really do think that teachers and professors aren't great at giving career advice, and here's why. When I was going through college and university, there were a lot of students that I graduated with, that I went to class with, and a lot of them went into teaching because they didn't know what else to do after graduation. They didn't know what else to do with their psych degree or with their science degree. And so they thought, out of convenience, maybe they should teach. I'm sorry, but if that's your motivation for teaching, for going into the profession of teaching, what kind of story is that? What kind of experience is that? There's no passion in there. There's no drive. There's no learning experience. There's no real reason as to why that person wants to become a teacher other than pure convenience, and not a great story to learn from. And I think it just goes to show that that person has a lack of experience in terms of career search, trying to find themselves so that they have a better understanding of what they want to do in life. And if that's the type of person that's giving career advice, it's going to be pretty weak. The other point is that as smart as teachers or professors may appear to be, you have to realize that they're working off notes that they've had for several years. They're giving the same assignments and tests. They're just regurgitating material over and over again. Nothing's really going on up here. How is this any different from the average person that supposedly punches in at 9, punches out at 5, and does the exact same job every single day? The teachers are just regurgitating the same notes. They deliver the same lines, the same jokes, if any. Where do the teachers get to learn something new? Where do they get to inject passion into their subjects? Or how do they get challenged and make real decisions? They don't have the opportunity for that. Now, of course, I get it when it comes to professors in college or university. They are very smart people. They are doing tons of research outside of the lecture room. That's where their passion really is. But that's the other problem too, is that they're focused on their research. That's all that really matters. And when it comes to teaching, that's an afterthought. They're focused purely on the academic world. That's where their respect comes from their research and from their grants, and how their research has progressed, and the reputation from that. But it's in the small world of academia. So at the end of the day, how can they be giving career advice if you are looking for a job outside of academia? If you want to get into the business world, if you want to get into the private sector, professor or the teacher is the last person you want to be asking. Instead, you want to go to people that are in the private sector, that are in the industries that you want to go to. These are the guys that understand what the education requirements are. They understand, what experience you need, what skill sets you need. If you need a master's, or if you need a PhD, or if you just need a bachelor's, or maybe none of that. In fact, when I was doing my research in terms of what I wanted to do for my career, I reached out to my professors, I reached out to people in industry. And I will tell you right now that the advice that the two gave were completely contradicting each other. And for me, I went with the advice from industry because it just made more sense. I listened to them because they're the one that's hiring. That advice saved me at least, 50 grand in tuition, because the professor said that I needed a master's or a PhD at least. And when I talk to people in the industry, they said the complete opposite. And for me, I realized school's going to be there forever. If I do need my master's or my PhD, I can go back to school and get one. Meantime, I'm going to try my luck with industry and see how far I can get with my current degree. And it's worked out very well for me. Now, there are exceptions, and there are certain teachers and professors who have managed to break into the private sector or into industry, and they sit as advisors or sit on a board of directors. Sometimes their research really has business promise. Those are the professors and teachers I would seek out if I were you, but they're not that common. In fact, I think out of my faculty, there were only a handful that came to mind that I could talk to, and even then they were hard to get a hold of. And the advice that they had was fairly generic. Guys, I know if you're just coming out of high school or college or university, it's really convenient to ask your professors for advice, especially career advice. But I'm telling you right now, it's the wrong way to go. It might be a good start, especially if you have a teacher or professor that has some sort of industry or private sector experience. So my advice to you is, if you do seek that advice out, ask the teacher or professor what their work experience, what their history is. How did they get to the current role that they have? And if their story sounds kind of like they just went to college, got their degree, and then decided to go into education, or maybe they got their master's and then decided to get into teaching, I'd stay away. It's a pretty boring and bland story. For me, that rings bells of that person didn't know what to do with their degree, got stuck in overeducating themselves, and decided that they would work in the academic world because that's all they knew. Alright, so I hope I didn't come across as bashing teachers. That's definitely not my intention here, but I just really wanted to give perspective in terms of where you're getting your information from and whether that person is suitable for your situation. Like I said, teachers and professors play a very important role in bringing up a future generation, creating new leaders, and for giving us the education that we all need to become the strong nation that we currently are. What I am saying is, if I were looking for career advice, I would not be seeking advice from my professors who have been stuck in the academic world for the last 20 years. Instead, I would go straight to industry and ask them for advice. So if you guys have a question that you'd like me to answer in a future video, go to my website, one-on-one-mentoring.com. You can also work with me personally, either through video mentoring or email mentoring. All the information is on my website. Please check that out. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.